my book is and be like, and Asurlath in dough.
Yeah. And the evening proceeds without really any further incident. The only small thing of note before the night closes is Azulath. As you were going to bed, there's little candle holders in sort of near the side bedposts, and for whatever rituals you do during the evening before winding down for bed, you notice that one of the little candles, as I imagine, like you have a ton of books or scrolls or things that you're having to set down. I'm just imagining it's like 3/4 of my equipment is just scroll and scribing equipment and books. The other part is the things people tell me to remember to go for trips and bring with me. As you do that, the light flickers on of its own accord. And all of a sudden, you just feel almost this warmth right around where your holy symbol is. And it's hard. It's not quite like a touch, but there's almost like you feel almost like if you had like a loved one giving you like a comforting pat during a trying time. You feel almost a divine sort of presence around your holy symbol. It's almost like a warmth that fills you. That there's just a sense of like, upon the enthusiasm you showed for the books and everything, this is almost like, it's like divine, like, yeah. It's like if anyone has ever seen a meme picture of like the Jesus pose of him going, like, you're basically getting a divine like finger guns from your deity.
It's always nice to know when I'm on the right track. It's easy to get on the right track. It's always nice to know.
Yep. And outside of that, the only other thing is, Bo, before you go to sleep, Amelia leaves an envelope underneath your door.
She's gonna open it right away because Bo doesn't know what willpower is.
It seems to be a relatively untidy scrawl with the name Elena Milhan signed at the bottom of it. And it says, I noticed earlier that you seem to have something similar to me. If you'd like to know more about your ancestors, or at least the power you can get from them, maybe we can chat sometime.
Oh, Bo is actually very intrigued by this. So she makes it a point to try to catch up to her in the coming days.
And with that, the evening closes. For some of you, an approval of divine warmth and love and affection. For some of you, date night, maybe? Future date? Comfort? Knowing more about yourself? Dee Dee, a lot of notes, a lot of planning for what the next few days are going to be. By perpetual nightmares and torment.
Hey, I had a date night. It's just not one I consented to.
Oh, that's terrible.
Regardless of whether I have my own room or not, I will sleep in the same room as Priya, and if there's no like bed space, I actually will sort of put my back up against the wall, making sure I'm facing Priya, and sort of fall asleep watching him asleep. And during the night, like if Kawa sort of alerts me to, oh no, dreams again, I kind of wake up just a little and sort of like put like a piece of cloth that's been dipped in cool water and just put it on his head. If he's like sort of breaking out in sweat and stuff like that.
Yeah. Nothing else happens after the one incident. The rest of the night is uneventful. And evening closes, you all take a full rest, recover from a long day's travel, been meeting interesting folk. Some, pretty much all, very happy to see all of you in certain respects or another. Some very intrigued by your group, others very mystified entirely by your group, but you awaken to the sound of a festival beginning. You hear small children laughing. You hear horns and trumpets playing in the distance. You hear lutes being played. You hear songs and like festive revelry beginning to occur. And even just looking out your window, you can see a variety of tents are looking out. And it's festive, it's fun, and everything feels sweet, and the day is yours. And at that moment, at about an hour and a half into our time, we are going to take a 10-minute break. Just double checking. Yep, that is the only thing that we have to do. So for everyone who is tuning in with us on Twitch and such, we are going to be going for a 10-minute break. So I'll be switching over everything right now to 10-minute break so that everyone can get a second to stretch, go use the bathroom, anything like that. And we'll be back in 10. So lovely chat. Thank you for joining us so far. And you are going to return to a wonderful little festival for the harvest fall. Love you all. We'll be back in just a little bit. And I'm going to transition us over as I kill the mics now, and transitioning
Hello again.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Wait, why is this now showing? That is so strange. Why is.
Rip.
Oh dear.
And we're
there's-
off.
Well, this is fantastic. Stream. I do not know why it's suddenly doing that. Okay, never mind. It's all okay. Ignoring our various technical difficulties that are part and parcel of a professional stream. So, welcome back, everybody. For those of you who are just joining us, welcome to Adventures in Agni with our wonderful crew. And I did not, my apologies, take the time to explain that for the overlay that you're seeing, one of our players was unable to attend this session due to personal reasons. So as a result, they will be joining us next week, hopefully. But for now, the character art is sort of a stand-in for them, for their character of Corin. Miss you, Heliodoro. We're looking forward to having you back next week. But as we're coming back into this session, you all awaken, as we ended off before break, with a festival slowly but surely coming together all around you. You hear noises of celebration and jubilation all around you. You see multiple tents of various colors, these vivid blues and purples and yellows and reds. You see various vendors and different folks that you saw around the town attending to some of the stalls now, and you see an occasional person just calling out, "Hurry, hurry, hurry, come and get your fantastic treats, they're going to be out, we're giving out some free right now, but only the next 30, otherwise you bum pay." And it's just there's just a lot of festive people, and it appears as though there's a variety of games and attractions and little events that are going on all around you. So, party members, what do you do?
I will follow them to the library, sort of dogging their heels and not participating in the hype, but just
Well, I'm the only one that's hyped, I think.
okay.
Debatable.
Dee Dee, how hyped are you for library journey?
I am mostly curious, but definitely not mirroring the excitement of Azerlath.
All right. I will
So
meet
was just sort of staring.
If you take the time to make your way through some of the crowd, and I would say, no, you could just talk to a few different people and folks to continue on with the same kind of jovial nature that they've had this entire time that you've been in town. They just all sort of like, oh yeah, if you're looking for Isba, you want to go past those 3 tents, watch out for the dragon, past that one, go over around that tent over there, and watch the pie throwing contest, so it can get a little bit messy. Watch the pigs, the kids are trying to catch them, and I don't honestly know why they try and run this one, kids can never catch them. And yeah, library's right over there.
Okay, yeah.
I watch for all 4 of those things.
So watch for dragon, watch for pie throwing, watch pigs, and watch for kids. And there is for a moment you might think, wait, when they say dragon, did they like actually mean dragon, like dragon? And you come to realize that it's sort of half true, because as you're all making your way, well, 3 of the party is. What is Bo doing at this moment? Before I even get into that, what is Bo up to? Can't hear you right now.
Hello?
Yes, we
Can
can
you hear
hear
me
you.
now? Okay, all right. Bo is actually going to check out she's going to investigate more about the letter that she got. She wants to catch up and see what that was all about.
Yeah, I would say you can also just talk to some folks around town. And are you just looking specifically for Elena to talk
Yeah,
to?
I mean, Elaine's the one who left the note, right?
Well, you just saw Amelia just sort of go slip in underneath. Well, you didn't know it was Amelia, but someone slipped. No, I'm telling you out of character. Let that slip accidentally.
Okay.
But Amelia just let that pass underneath the door. But the signature at the very least was from Elena.
Yeah, she's just gonna cut to the chase, go right find Elaine and ask her what's up.
All right. So I will do Bo, and then I will switch over to the library because the library would be its own thing. Bo, you take your time. You're able to pass by various attractions. You see what appears to be a very let's call him excitable little goblin who seems to be very almost I'd say maniacally positioned around a cauldron in front of a tent, and you see as he's moving and doing things, mixing around this cauldron. There's occasional little bits of magical energy shooting off from the ends of the cauldron. And he's like, "Hello, lady. Would you like a drink? It makes special things happen."
What are the ingredients of this drink?
It's wild magic. It just has a very
I think,
maniacal. It's a very off-putting grin.
yeah, I mean, to be honest, Bo almost never would turn down a drink, but in this situation, she's like, I think I'll pass.
I promise. It's really fun. It's how I ended up like this. And
Right.
you see, he just sort of has where once must have been a full head of hair. There's like a clean part right through the middle of it, like someone just took a set of like shears and just went right through the middle of it. But it doesn't look quite like shears. It's more like it got burned off.
Oh, no, I like my hair where it is. But thank you for offering.
Sure, you don't want
I
another
appreciate.
color for your hair? It changes your hair.
No. I really like this strawberry red that I have right now. Thank you.
And as you, I imagine, very quickly walk away from the wild mage goblin, he just shouts out, "It could be blue!"
Okay. I'll remember that if I decide I want to be blue in the future. Thank you.
Quickly runs away. But you're able to pass by more of these things, and the reason that the dragon statement from earlier uh, was half true is that you just happen to catch in passing as you're talking to a few different people, and you do manage to hear that Elaine is working as security at one end of it as you're passing along through various townsfolk, little crowds and tents and such. You see a very tall, very attractive half elf with wide flat nose, very straight sculpted eyebrows, a kind of slightly pointed chin, green eyes. Very you can tell the half elf with just a slight point to the ears, hair sort of tucked up to the front with a set of bangs, and she sort of is wearing this very extravagant set of robes that start with pink near the top, then magenta, then blue. It's basically she's wearing robes of the Bi Pride flag, and
Yeah.
she's just sort of like waving her hands, and you see from the tips of her hands energy is floating out of it, and there's a dragon in front of her that appears to be made out of the magic. That's just she's just moving her hands and causing it to move along the streets and through various little kids and such, and just sort of occasionally like you hear like kids going ah, like kind of scared but also excited and delighted by it. And yeah, you just see her as you're passing by. She just gives a very like she sees you, she looks in your direction, she gives a wink, and then she goes back to doing her half dragon sort of illusory manipulation, and you're able to make your way very easily through the crowd and find Elena, who wearing roughly the same kind of gear she is before, except she while you were able to see the great axe before, now she seems to be like carrying it just with like a mixture of like boredom and a mixture of like, oh god, this is so uncomfortable to be around here. Like she's just like, I don't want to do this, but this is my job and this is my life,
Mhm.
so this is what I'll do. So yeah, you just see her. She's just kind
Okay.
of
Um,
easygoing, but she's like anxious.
well, hello. You seem not that familiar with how to handle a great axe. I could help you out if you needed to learn some basics there.
Oh, it's not the great axe that's the problem. That I can handle just fine. And you see her like to demonstrate this. She goes and grabs a random piece of wood that's being used to fuel some of the little fires to keep some of the like uh, little bits of food that are being tended, and just giant kind of like soup homemade soup pots. She just like goes
Mhm.
over, talks to someone, pulls out a log, chucks it up in the air, and then just cleanly parts it in one swing with the great axe. And like for being a very anxious person throughout this entire time that you've seen and interacted with her, like in the one moment where she cleaves it in half, it's a very
Mhm.
like confident look that takes over her face. And it's a you tell this is someone who's used a weapon a fair bit.
Okay. Um, so do we have time for a side game of ultimate axes between Bo and Elena, where we have, an axe throwing contest or something?
I did not plan for this, so yes.
But Bo would definitely be into that. And she gets distracted for a minute watching, but then she does want to find out a little bit more about this letter. We can have an axe throwing contest another time. Is what she says to herself in her head, and and then she says impressive to Elena, um, and then she takes out the letter and she's like, I was actually kind of curious about this letter here that seems to have your signature at the bottom.
Oh yeah. Well, it's well, to be honest, I haven't really seen too many folks from the north in quite a long time who, you know, do what we do. She's very meek in saying it, and you kind of have to
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
parse the words a little bit. It takes a couple of seconds, but you get the sense. Well, actually, roll me insight to see what level of
Okay.
information that you get from what she's talking about, because she's like being like kind of anxious, shy, not very descriptive, but she's also like she's trying to say. You get the sense she's trying to say something without saying it because she's embarrassed.
Right. So I'm supposed to be able to intuit somehow her meaning. I do not. Bo does not intuit her meaning.
Uh, did, well, y- y- she flusters for a bit and she's like, you do the angry thing, right?
Um, Angry. I mean, sometimes I just feel a little enraged.
Yeah, that word,
Yeah,
that one.
yeah. Okay. Yes, I do that. Why? Are there some others around? And are you counted among them?
Jimmy just calls out to someone. Jimmy, do you mind bringing out a set of logs for us? Gonna need a 10 stack to start with, and
It's time for ultimate access.
basically it begins. Yes, but yeah, you'd see this very squat little halfling who looks like probably her little brother. Just he has like he's got like effectively the equivalent of like someone who probably didn't even have peach fuzz at this point, but like he goes and he's like, yeah, Lena, I can, sure. Brings over a 10 stack of just logs, and you see her like focus on the axe for a second, and you didn't notice it initially, but all across the handle and even all around to the blade, there's various sets of runes that, unless you speak halfling, you probably
Hmm.
can't read it, but there's just various
Okay.
runes carved it all around it. And you see her focus for a second, and you see the muscles just start to like stretch and become more intense and defined. she swings it, cleaves down cleanly through the entire set of logs. But as she does that, when it's getting near the halfway point, when it almost looks like the blade is going to catch, you see another spirit, a pair of spirits, emerge around her that also look like halflings of similar builds to Elena, that also seem to like reach forward with their hands and guide the axe through all of them.
That is very impressive.
It takes a lot of focus to not lose control of this. And, like, you can tell, like, where once she kind of had an anxious vibe and energy to her, she's now sort of just like, it's focused, and it's rage, but it's a very different rage from what you've seen growing up, where probably a lot of the ones that you saw were more just like berserker or straight like
Yep.
blitzer, like I will punish and crush and destroy this thing in front of me. Hers is it's like pure white hot directed pinpointed rage. And it seems to just as she focuses, the ancestors around her just seem to sort of give like nods of approval and like give like touches to her shoulders to give her comfort, to give her control.
And Bo is standing there, and like she realizes this is something special that she's been shown, and it's a power that Bo doesn't possess. So she's very interested in it and interested in learning how she has sort of mastered this special talent.
She sort of like takes a minute to pause and breathe. And I'm going to switch over to the other group, but throughout this entire period, you can talk to her, and she'll take some time to focus with you, and she'll just go through various steps. So she'll say, rage can destroy, rage can do a lot of things to hurt people, but it can do a lot of things to protect. And when you focus on those you love, on those who've come before you, and the legacy that they leave behind, the good and the bad, their rage will come with you. Their rage will guide you. Not to destroy, unless that's what you need them to do, but to help you. It's
Okay.
it's not flirtatious, but there is an element that I think even Bo would probably register. There's an element of like there's intimacy to her going through this with you. There's a sense of like she seems to have picked up on that you, for whatever reason, it's kind of that sense of like expert understands expert, or expert sees someone with potential kind of vibe, where someone's like, I see, like she notices how much you stand out with the group, and she's just lived long enough that she recognizes a badass is basically the long and the short of it. She recognizes someone, at least if not who isn't already a badass, is probably going to be one later, or even more so. So it's like, yeah.
Cool.
If there's anything you want to ask me.
Bo is going to she's going to be a lot more reverential, I think, than she usually is. She's kind of usually she's usually a little reserved, but she's also kind of flirty and upbeat most of the time, and like this is like much more serious for her. So she's been paying attention, and she really feels like up until now coming to this town was like, it's kind of boring. But this has really piqued her interest.
Yeah. And you go through maybe however long you'd like to spend. You could say like an hour, a couple hours even pass. Time seems to just fade away for a bit. As
Mhm.
there's again, it's I like to imagine it though with far less cheese is almost like a shared intimacy moment. Like think like Ghost, Patrick Swayze, like ceramic pottery kind of like tending. So
Yeah.
I think that level of like because there is also like touch intimacy where she helps
Mhm.
guide you with like using the axe. She doesn't like try and do it like now here's how you use an axe kind of attitude. She doesn't like belittle or condescend to you. There's just an element of like focus,
Mhm.
think back, remember, look back to bring the strength and rage forward. Look back to find power and use that power to channel the rage. And it's a very different side of this person who up until 24 hours ago just seemed like an anxious,
Like
nervous
really,
wreck
yeah.
and like very
Yeah.
flustered easily, but there's an element of like intimacy and just touch and affection that she also shares with you throughout this process. Nothing particularly like sexual or too forward, but just a sense of
Mhm.
like there is touches and like she helps guide the axe at times, so it's sweet and it's cute. It's cute, but
Mhm.
it's respectful.
Mhm.
Switching over to the library from this moment of deep intimacy and seriousness, Azerlath, as you, I would say, probably given your enthusiasm, you are leading the charge towards the library, and it's not a particularly large building like the rest of these. It sort of seems styled very much like a lot of the homes here, kind of thatched roof, somewhat shoddy construction in its building, but relatively meager kind of farming kind of homes. And it has sort of an extended building that, as you look in, you've probably seen much more expansive bookcases. You've probably seen them filled with a lot more books in other places, but it seems reasonably well stocked, and it seems like there's a lot of kids in here who are very enthusiastically reading, even with the festival. Like, there's probably a couple moments of like you have like an initial like reaction where you see a kid is just like eating like a sweet treat and also like looking at the books and you're worried that like some of it's gonna like drip down and spill over it and you
Can I
see like
prestidigitate any spills that may happen?
the best the bookworm's use of prestidigitation is just keep the books clean. But yeah,
Well,
no, you can do that just fine. And as you do that, you notice that, but Azerlath, you also notice, because it's kind of hard to miss them, a rather huge, hulking figure sitting somewhat awkwardly at what might guess might be considered the information desk or receptionist area of it. Massive set of red, leathery bat like wings, skin of deep red and demonic sort of face to them. A face that seems to have many scratches and bruises and cuts and scars across it, and does not look particularly welcoming, but doesn't look hostile, just more the vibe of uh, like it's the end of a long shift
I
kind of vibe.
understand.
It's that kind of vibe, and like seems to be very much like the outfit is similar to the garb that everyone else here kind of wears, roughly like country townsfolk kind of like overalls, farming kind of wear and stuff, but it seems to be custom made for her or them rather. And they're just sort of sitting there, just appear to be reading a book